This is how to make a supernova, and today we're going to build the Bandai AT-ST all-terrain scout transport. This is my first Bandai build I've ever done, and it is really a fun project and a fun model to assemble and paint. So I'm going to show you what I've done.
This was my first Bandai kit and I really enjoyed the whole build. Inside the box you will find some screws, build instructions and Imperial decals. And the build instructions are very clear and easy to follow. Well, with a clipper I cut all the pieces I needed, and with a sharp hobby knife I cleaned all the edges. This kit is so good that you don't need any glue at all. It is like building a Lego set and it's such a nice build. When the cockpit is complete I won't be able to paint it anymore, so I decided to paint the cockpit before assembling. First I gave everything a thin coat of Vallejo Gold Grey. Then I highlighted everything with Vallejo Stonewall Grey. It is a little hard to see on the camera, but a subtle highlight makes the details a little more noticeable. Before painting all the details, I first looked at the scene from Return of the Jedi and checked out all the details from inside the cockpit. I never noticed how much detail ILM put in the cockpit, which is on screen only for a few seconds. There are part, lights and screens everywhere. It also gave a good idea about the uniform colors from the AT-ST crew.
I made a little mistake here. I painted the lowest belt, and the lower belt is actually black, it's from the uniform itself, but I need to paint the upper belt, which is part of the belt from the AT-ST itself. So not a problem, later on I'm going to paint in black.
For the helmets I used Vallejo's German Field Grey World War II and gave everything a brown wash. While the cockpit crew was drying, I gave the whole inside of the cockpit a brown wash before adding any details. You can see here that the wash really makes all the details pop. I went for a brown wash to give everything a more dirty look. When you use a black wash the effect will be more clean. Then I took my reference photos and started painting all the details. The next step is to put the cockpit together and continue with the build. I wanted to give my AT-ST a closed hatch to give it that attack mode feel. If you want, you can choose an open hatch with a Chewbacca model poking out. But by choosing a closed hatch, I realized that nobody really will ever notice that I painted the inside. Well, I know it's there. When the model was ready, I took it apart again for painting. The cockpit comes off pretty easily and you can put the legs in this weird configuration, very handy for painting. First I gave the cockpit a coat of Vallejo Gold Grey, followed with a highlight of Vallejo's Stonewall Grey. I used some paper towels to fill in the windows from the cockpit. This way I wouldn't accidentally spray paint the insides from the model and ruin a paint job no one will ever see. After the 2 layers of grey, it was time for the weathering. I took a sponge, some dark brown paint, took most of the paint away and carefully stippled it on the model. When you do this, you should think about where the material will be damaged most. Most of the time this will be the edges of the model. Then with a little Vallejo's gunmetal I picked out some scratches and painted a little dot. This way you can simulate some parts where the paint scratched off and some bare metal is visible. Then I used the brown wash to give the outside the dirty look I was going for. I thinned the wash down a little and put it in all the little nooks and crannies. Right now I don't care if I make any mistakes because it will be fixed later. When there was really too much wash on a place, I used a paper towel to fix it. The next step is to clean the model with thinner and to blend in the wash a little more. When the thinner was dry, I used some Vallejo's rain marks to make some rain marks. This is really fun to do, and before applying the paint you should think about where water will collect and drip down.
When you finish your model, I suggest doing something with the base because this brown looks a little bit boring. I didn't do anything with it because I'm going to use my AT-ST for another project. If you like my video, please like and subscribe because there are more videos coming your way. Thank you for watching and I see you next time.